Hi, my name is Jimena Galloso Viña, and my ethical lemma is: to what extent do sustainable materials have a long-term effect on climate change? The reason why I'm very passionate about this ethical lemma is because I still don't know if I'm going to study an engineer in sustainable materials or architecture. And this ethical lemma has both architecture and sustainable materials. Also, this relates to my pop because it's part of one of the careers of art in UDEM. I also find it really interesting because it has a lot to do with technology, and I really am passionate about technology because I think that is the future for our world. So this is why I find it really passionate. This ethical dilemma relates to a professional in my profession because the main community affected is the architects, because architects are the ones who are being blamed by the ecosystem and not using sustainable materials, but also because they use wood, steel, iron, all of these materials that are not recyclable or sustainable, and they are damaging more the ecosystem. But also the sustainable materials also cause a long-term effect in the ecosystem. So affected by this dilemma is countries like Mexico. Why? Because we're using materials as sustainable when they really aren't sustainable at all. An example of these materials are the cross-laminated timber, because it's made of bamboo. This is causing a deforestation in our country that is actually raising the percentages of deforestation in a long-term period. But in a short-term period, it's actually causing the pollution to go away and to be better for our country. As stated by the Informe Nacional de México 2016, there is a big demand of all types of wood, including the cross-laminated timber, because it's made of bamboo. If the demand gets bigger, there will be more demand for all types of wood, so this will cause more pollution because there will be more deforestation of trees and including the bamboo. In a long-term consequences, the pollution and the greenhouse gas emissions will be affected. Despite the fact that there is still a considerable forest area, approximately 10 million acres, with timber potential, and that is still integrated into forest exploitation, the prospects in the short and medium term are to increase current production levels between 9 and 11 million meter cubic per year. Informe Nacional de México 2016. Another community affected by this ethical dilemma are the architects, because not only the reputation is the one that is getting damaged, but also they are the ones that are taking the blame for using non-sustainable materials. According to Rowan Moore 2019, architects are the ones who are causing most of the climate change in the earth. The argument of architects declared, which might be called the sensible middle ground, goes something like this. Architects have no excuse for not giving their most to make their work have as little impact on the environment as possible. Rowan Moore 2018. In the UK, nearly 30% of the greenhouse gas emissions are caused by the abuse in the environment. The ethical dilemma in a local environment is that Mexico is one of the countries with large deforestation of bamboo. There is a problem with sustainable materials, given that the cross-laminated timber is made of bamboo. The first effect on this dilemma in Mexico is that the cross-laminated timber is reducing the amount of contamination and climate change, but it has a negative effect on the long term in the ecosystem because there is more deforestation in our country. The dilemma in the global environment is that in the United States, San Francisco, they found out that the cross-laminated timber is affecting their greenhouse gas emission in a long term. Because of the bamboo is retaining inside the carbon dioxide. At the beginning, the cross-laminated timber was made for the exterior, but as people saw that it was easier to clean and cheaper than regular wood, they started to use it as normal wood. Now there is a big demand of this cross-laminated timber, so it's making deforestation bigger in both local and global environments. This topic is important because if we take the example of the cross-laminated timber, the bamboo keeps the carbon dioxide inside, and it can be harmful for the consumers that buy this type of wood. Also, if the cross-laminated timber is still in the market, the consequence in the long term will be that the air will be also very harmful for our system. The amount of carbon dioxide in tons captured by the timber frame construction in the UK, with 50% to 28% of new homes annually using the material in general, 1 cubic meter of wood contains a ton of carbon dioxide, similar to 350 liters of gasoline. The impact of this ethical dilemma is that we need to make a big research and experiment with the materials that are supposedly be sustainable for the earth, because as we already saw the example of the cross-laminated timber is having positive effect on a short term, but are having negative effect on a long term, and this will affect the pollution of our earth.